Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm speaking to you today from Al-Muntada. This is Saint-Gobain 400 square meter knowledge space, building science area in Masdar City, Abu Dhabi, in the United Arab Emirates. Al-Muntada is for us a fantastic showcase of sustainable construction. All our solutions for low carbon and energy efficient buildings committed to circular economy are presented here. So dear customers, dear partners, dear Saint-Gobain teams, ladies and gentlemen from all over the world, it's a great honor for me to share this moment with you to discuss the major transitions that our societies are facing today and the role that we should play, that we must play in the construction sector. It is indeed located less than 1 hour away from Dubai, where world leaders are meeting for the COP28. Deep discussion about the best ways to drive rapid action to fight climate change. We see it, we have seen it for years now around us, the impact of climate change. Develop new ways to fund sustainable solutions and ensure also that these solutions extend equity and fairness to every citizen to the planet. Tomorrow, and this is something where we have worked a lot in the last 4 or 5 years, the COP agenda will be dedicated to the construction sector, the built environment. This is good news, a lot of efforts from a lot of construction players, partners, including Saint-Gobain for so many years to have a COP building day and a clear recognition of the very significant role that our sector can play in solving the principal issues of the planet today. Climate emergency. We know that the construction sector represents roughly 40% of the CO2 emissions. Scarcity also of natural resources. We know that our sector takes 50% in volumes of the world natural resources. It does create 40% of the world solid waste. And also, third challenge, beside CO2, climate change, natural resources, the fact that we have to host, create buildings for 2 billion inhabitants in the next decades, fast urbanization, population growth, notably in developing countries. So the figures speak for themselves. There must be an opportunity. I don't see it as a negative for the construction sector. I see it as an opportunity to move and make an impact on the planet. We have today more than 70% of the global GDP that has committed itself to achieving carbon neutrality, more than 120 countries. It is absolutely obvious that none of those countries will succeed without a massive contribution of their construction world. We see also that the planet is definitely no longer in position to absorb the environmental cost of our construction, and that we need a profound shift towards sustainable construction, towards circular economy, reuse of materials in construction. So in a nutshell, it is within our hands that we can transform our sector. We are not the problem for the planet. We are not the problem for the inhabitants. We have the lion's share of the solution. So the question is, what is behind sustainable construction? What do we mean and what can we do? For sure, it has to have a reduced environmental footprint during the life cycle over the construction, using fewer resources, lower CO2, of course, high energy efficiency, circular economy, I mentioned it. So a lot of performance for the environment, for the natural resources, for the climate. But also, we have to keep in mind the priority to bring well-being to the individuals. Well-being with superior value, fairness for all kinds of citizens around the world in terms of quality, comfort, Hadi mentioned it, visual, thermal, acoustic comfort, air quality, etc. It can have a huge impact. We can make a huge impact towards more comfortable classrooms for education around the world, for hospitals where patients will be cared better. Health workers is a tough profession. We can help them with a good built environment, working environment, enjoyable offices and homes, of course, all around the world. So it's not only about the environment, it's truly also about the well-being for every citizen on the planet. So what are now the collective areas of improvement? We need to bring a step change. Change in how we conceive buildings more accurately, more sustainability, state-of-the-art off-site facilities. I know you are doing a lot of that in this part of the world, off-site. Change in how we manage every aspect of a construction site to reduce on-site waste, take it back, recycle the materials. If I take some of the materials of Saint-Gobain, we have in our glass wool insulation 70% recycled materials. Change in the way we trade and how we work with partners, manufacturers, distributors. Change in how we not only plan for single buildings, but how we plan for entire cities. Change in how we train, partner with our craftsmen and contractors. So a lot of actions and areas for improvement. You have understood that those challenges, which are very significant, what we can bring, because we know we have the solution, it's a lot of calls for action. We shall mainstream sustainability into every customer offering as building materials manufacturer. We shall engage the entire value chain. We cannot do it alone. We shall harness the power of corporate innovation. We spent €500 million of research and development within Saint-Gobain. The 4 priorities of Saint-Gobain are towards sustainability agenda. We shall embrace collaboration with startups, with innovative frontrunners all around the world. We shall also be open to responsibly leveraging digital solutions and artificial intelligence for transportation, for machinery, for all the engineering of buildings to deliver efficiency gains, reduce carbon emissions. And finally, and I think it's very important, we need policies, we need regulations that not only promote more sustainable building designs and the use of more sustainable processes and methods and materials, but also make it economically viable to do so. So this is a call for our policymakers around the world, at the EU level, in the US, country by country, at the UN as well, to reinforce the regulatory and financial framework that will support sustainable solutions to foster a shift from sometimes a short-term, cost-efficient approach to long-term value creation mindset. Above all, what we really need is the commitment of all of us. We are all professionals, experts, representatives of the construction family. We need our shared passion, our shared expertise and trust within each other, that together we can and we will turn the construction industry into a transformational catalyst for climate change. I strongly believe that we have to do it now. We started within Saint-Gobain with a vision, with our purpose, making the world a better home, our vision, worldwide leadership in light and sustainable construction. It is now and it is in the next 10 years that we can truly make a change and that we need to rise to the challenge. So what are the keys for success and how we will succeed? Clearly, we need to accelerate the development of sustainable construction. It means in mature countries, renovation, because we know in Europe, 85–90% of our buildings will be there in 2050, when we will need them to be carbon neutral. So we are accelerating on energy efficiency renovation, on comfort, modularity, circular economy to reuse the materials through regulations and also ambitious support mechanism. If I take the French government, next year, they will support 5 billion euros to renovate energy efficiency towards low-income private houses. In developing countries, where the issue is primarily new construction, sustainable construction, light construction, where we can divide by more than 2 times the weight of materials and therefore the CO2 content of the construction, sustainable construction is still a bit limited. So we need to convince leaders to accelerate, to require new methods of construction, to change also construction codes, incorporating sustainability in terms of life cycle analysis, carbon footprint, energy efficiency, indoor air quality, etc., etc. So to date, there are only 60 national codes integrating these requirements. So 120 countries are committed for carbon neutrality, only 60 of them have sustainable construction into their new construction building codes. To some extent, and I will wrap up there, the main barrier for us to move faster into sustainable construction is the fragmentation of the value chain. If we think of the automotive sector with electrical vehicle, there are dozens of car players, not much. Within our industry, we have hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of local players, craftsmen, architects, building materials manufacturers, mayors for building permits. So the challenge is to act together to truly change the value chain, to act globally to change practices. So collaboration will be key. None of us can bring sustainable construction to life alone, but collaboration is of the essence along this journey. So in conclusion, turning sustainable construction from dream, aspiration into strong reality requires a shift in mindset, but also requires commitment, courage. Within Saint-Gobain, on innovation, we gave ourselves 3 years ago a race to the moon. We were born in glass 360 years ago. We wanted to be the first to make a zero carbon manufacturing of flat glass, and we did it. And now we have a low carbon offer on the market for glass. We did it after that on plasterboard. So let's continue to shift this mindset to challenge each other, to have this race to the moon type of spirit and fighting spirit and winning spirit for sustainable construction. So that's my best wish for all of us, for all of you, to embark on this journey towards sustainability. This is the pledge I will make tomorrow again at the COP28, forging a unified construction value chain that integrates from the very beginning environmental stewardship, economic growth also around the world, social equity and fairness for every citizen on the planet, and truly together we will and we can make a big difference. That's my request, that's my promise. You can count on Saint-Gobain. I know I can count on you to make this journey, but you can count on Saint-Gobain and all the 165,000 team members of Saint-Gobain worldwide to make a change and impact the planet. So I stop there, but truly it's my honor to be there today to host all of you and together to transform our industry and make sustainable construction the lighthouse of what needs to be done for the climate going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Benoit. Thank you. I hope you have some time to join me for a fireside chat here.
Sure.
Just a few questions. No fire, but still, we'll have a nice chat, I hope. Like you said, we are just down the road from where policymakers and great minds are huddling together to make our future so much better for all of us. And you, Benoit, and your team, you are in the great position to spearhead this transformation and also to change it from vision to reality, like you said, and bring along the rest of the stakeholders. Allow me to start by asking you, you said earlier that we are not part of the problem. In fact, we have the lion's share of the solution. So could you just share with us how you see the solution?
You know, sometimes I like to make the comparison with, you take airlines. So far, we have not found a plane which is green to fly, to come from Paris to Abu Dhabi. It will take some time on the technical side. Yeah. Within construction, we know we have the technical solution. It's light construction. When you think of new construction, it is heavy, global, comprehensive renovation. When you want to keep a building, like in Europe, on a lot of existing buildings. So we know it's this combination of light construction for new and renovation. So the solutions do exist. The challenge is more how you leverage across millions of job sites this solution. And therefore, you need to work across all the value chain in terms of training, in terms of education, in terms of norms, and showcase. Sometimes, like where we are today, Al Muntada is a good showcase of a passive building in Abu Dhabi. So the solutions do exist. Let's make them available, affordable, and let's continue to inform that we need to now scale up, speed up and scale up.
So if you take me down your supply chain, where do you see the weakest link?
It's a lot of areas. It varies, sometimes country by country. For instance, if you take renovation in Europe, we have to train a lot of craftsmen. But in the past, we used to renovate without caring much about the performance in terms of CO2 per square meter, in terms of kilowatt hour of energy. So we need a lot of training of the craftsmen. We are doing it in France. We train every year 15,000 craftsmen. That's one. I go the other way on the spectrum is the financial institutions. Right. You don't have a lot of banks who care about whether they finance a green, a not so green, a poor energy efficient building. They should, because the quality of the asset they finance is better if it's low in terms of energy usage. So that's another example of let's make sure that the financial institutions, public, private, for private residential, are part of the loop. You have the architects, you have sometimes the mayors about building permits, so they are all of data points, and this is the reason why within Saint-Gobain we launched at the beginning of the year an observatory, which is the first of its kind worldwide, on sustainable construction. We interviewed across 10 countries around the world, developing countries, developed countries, students, architects, politicians, officials, contractors, what it means for you. What do you need? What are the barriers? In order, again, to share the good practice, share the difficulties. Sometimes it's affordability, sometimes it's pure knowledge, sometimes it's education. So there is a lot of information sharing, best practice sharing on those topics.
And that's how you're engaging your stakeholders
exactly
across the board.
Because it's our duty, being present in 75 countries. If we find a very good solution in Sweden, let's put it in Germany. And if we find a very good solution in Saudi Arabia, maybe let's share it with Qatar or between Brazil and Mexico. So being an international group, that's also our duty within our team to circulate the best solution as fast as we can.
Also in your speech, what caught my attention is your call for more regulation. I have never seen anyone in any industry call on the regulator to be harder on them. What do you want from the regulator? What do you need from your regulator to be able to achieve this vision for the transformation?
I think it's one of the main components that we need is regulation around the world. Regulation for new build. In China, they already think about what should be new sustainable construction by 2025. So it's life cycle analysis, it's carbon footprint, it's reuse of materials. So that's for new build. But I give you one example. In France, by law, since May of this year, every building materials manufacturer has to take back demolition waste and bring that in a circular economy into your process. This is the way we drop our carbon footprint. So it could be on renovation with circular economy. It could be on standards for energy efficiency on new build. It could be a lot of parameters. But I think it's very powerful because after that, the private sector, when you have a target by 2025, by 2030, you need to be there. Then we know how to work. We know what the framework. We work to drop the cost. We work to scale up the solution, but you have a clear framework. So I'm asking for a clear framework. In Europe, we have energy efficiency minimum performance. You cannot rent, you cannot sell a place now in some countries if you are below the minimum energy efficiency. So that does force the owners to renovate. And I think within that, if you have norms, regulations, also the public sector has to be exemplary. Sometimes I ask public buildings to show the lead versus being late. So regulation is clearly one very important factor because then all the value chain, the training, the education will follow.
I think you're one person I don't need to ask if you think we have a climate crisis. But if you were to choose one thing that you that can be that key enabler to avert the crisis or to help avoid the climate crisis, what would you pick?
I would truly start by saying construction is truly at the crossroads of a lot of huge, deep strategic parameters today. It's at the crossroad of the climate change, 40% of the CO2 emissions. It's at the crossroad of some social issues. We have a lot of countries around the world where it's hard for people to find a decent home. And it's at the crossroad of the energy crisis. So construction is at the core of all that. And you could say, why did we have to wait almost 25 COP to put construction at the core of climate change when it makes 40% of the CO2 emissions? So we are there. It's only 3 years now that we have construction at the core of the COP. But let's put not just one day, like tomorrow, but 2 weeks at the COP on the built environment. And let's take construction for what it brings to the planet and to the inhabitants as a core component for climate change. And I'm truly convinced we have the solutions.
Yes.
It's a matter of scaling up and educating the awareness for everyone.
I loved what you said also in your speech about the how building was responsible for 40% of global carbon emissions and 40% of all solid waste globally. But you said that we should not look at it as an indictment, but rather an opportunity. And I want to thank you very much for sharing with us today how you view this opportunity and the scale of the opportunity. And I wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.